All right, let's get straight to it. 2015 Toyota Corolla. Today we are changing the passenger side lower control arm. You can see right here the R stands for right. Make sure it says R and not L, because we are changing the passenger side. On this vehicle, we will have to raise the motor a little bit. So there's two bolts right here, one here and one there. We have to remove those in order to loosen this mount and also this little bolt here, and that way we'll be able to get a jack underneath here and move it around, and I'll show you why later. So I have the car raised in the air, and you can use this beam here. We'll have the jack stand at. This is a stronger beam, but I use this beam here on the outside for the jack, and the one here for the jack stand. Now this here is not going to spin, but if you're not using the impact like I am, I recommend breaking these loose while it's on the ground and then raising it in the air, and after that you can take them off. Now the easiest way to explain to get this off is everything is 19 millimeter or 3/4. So this bolt here, this nut here is 19 millimeter. The bolt that goes through here is 19 millimeter. There's a bolt that goes from the bottom up, that's 19 millimeter, and a nut that goes on top of this one, that's 19 millimeter. So that's how we're going to get this out. We're going to have to hold a wrench, a 19 millimeter wrench on top of this nut, and I'm going to use my impact and use a 19 millimeter socket from the bottom and turn that bolt all the way out. And over here, this is why we're going to have to raise the engine. You can see this bolt here is going to contact here. So the easiest way to do this is just put a jack underneath this engine, and as we said earlier, we're going to remove these two bolts, this one here and this one here, and then this third one here, and that should allow us to raise this engine about 1 inch or so to give us the clearance that we need to remove this bolt here. And after that, then we have to get this nut off, which is here on the ball joint, right here on the ball joint. And normally there's a cotter pin in here. There's not a cotter pin in this one, so it's a 19 millimeter, so we're going to use a 19 millimeter wrench to reach in here and turn that out. Now we got rain. Well, if you're a mechanic and you do work outside, one of these right here is a must, so I can continue doing my job. All right, so I have my 19 millimeter wrench on the top of this nut here. I'm gonna hold that in place while I use this from underneath and just ratchet it from the bottom, or impact it from the bottom. So I was easily able to remove this nut and bolt from that end over there. And if you don't have an impact, then you can still use a ratchet and a 19 millimeter socket. It's just going to take a little bit more time. So now we can move on to the this part here. So this is a 19 millimeter. Like I said, the cotter pin should be in there, but I don't know why the last person didn't put it in there. So we're just going to use a 19 millimeter and turn this counterclockwise until it's all the way off. All right, so once you get that off, one strategy that I like to use is, you can see where someone else has already hit it. I like to turn the wheel to the right so you can expose this part more, and get a hammer and hit this part right here where you see this wear mark. Hit this part as hard as you can, about a good 4 or 5 times. And if that doesn't get it to move, you can get a pickle fork and set it right between here and hammer that in a little bit to put a little separating pressure on it, and then hit this again, and eventually it should give free. And once that's free, we can go to the next step. Man, it's really coming down now, but we're dry over here. That's all that matters. So all right, now that we have this one out, we have this one down here at the ball joint out. So our last bolt is right over here. It's a 19 millimeter. I already used my regular wrench and broke it free. So now I have a ratchet wrench on there, and I'm gonna just go ahead and start to ratchet this off. Now, as I stated before, this is going to hit against this part right here. So after I get this bolt far enough to show you where it hits, I'm gonna have to raise this engine up. All right, so this is exactly what I wanted you to see. So this is why we have to raise the engine. I'm not sure why they made it this way, but it always seems to be something like this with every vehicle. So from underneath, you can see I have a piece of wood in between the jack and the engine, so of course it doesn't damage the oil pan. All right, so right now I don't have much on it. I just have it against it so far. So we're gonna go up top, and these are 15 millimeter bolts that we have to get off. So all three of these are 15 millimeter. So I'm gonna go ahead and use my my impact to get these out. So now that we have those three bolts out, I can come from underneath here and put a little pressure on that to get it to lift. And now come around and see how much clearance we created. Let's see, is that enough? It's like right there. It's like right there. So just a little more. All right, that might do it. There it is. So now we can get this bolt out. Because of the threads, it's gonna take a while to thread this out. But I have the clearance that I need though, which is the important part. All right, so. All right, so I was able to get this bolt out with a little tapping. I was able to put a punch on the end here and tap it out. And it pretty much came out one piece. All the threads are good. So now we can go ahead and start to work this out. We have the bottom down here, which is loose now. We have this part loose over here, and we have that bolt out over here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull this bottom down and start to pull this part on the right towards me, and that should pull it out. I'm also able to get in here with a pry bar. See if you can get the pry bar right back here in this little notch. You should be able to pry and help push this out. So with a little prying and a little up and down motion, I was able to get this to pop out. Now the only thing holding this in is this side over here. So we're gonna do the same thing We're gonna move this side to side while pulling it towards us, and hopefully that comes out. If not, then we're gonna have to use the pry bar to help us get this all the way out. So the way that I got this out was I used a smaller pry bar first, and I basically set it right in on the inside of the circle, and I pried it against this part of the frame here to pull it out a little bit. And once I was able to get more space, I took my bigger pry bar and did the exact same thing and was able to get more leverage on it, and it pulled it right out. But it took a little time playing around with it, so this wasn't easy, but the whole thing is out now. So my new part is ready to go. I took the plastic cover that was on this and I removed the nut. So I'm going to start with this side here. We're going to push that side into there and try to get it in as good as we can. So getting that side in was actually easy. I just came over here, and you can use a soft hammer and just hit this side here and it'll tap it. It'll just start to tap it in. I still have some more tapping to do, but it was just going so easy that, you know, but so take your soft hammer, tap on this side, and you'll push that side in. And then once you have that in, we can start to push this side into there to get that bolt in.